So Jalen Duren, the young man in the middle for the Detroit Pistons, who has been much maligned at the onset of this young but successful season thus far. I want to dive into his next steps in becoming the player I think that he can be. And I want to dive into that in this video. But before I do, this video is brought to you by Bridges and Stone's Family and Relationship Care. You know, the holidays can be tough for a lot of us, whether it's distance from family, relationship issues, social isolation, or struggling to adapt to the weather of this season. Depression and loneliness can get to us all. This season doesn't have to be something to dread, though. It can also be an opportunity to learn coping skills and the steps you need to move into healthier relationships. Contact Bridges and Stones today for a free consultation with a professional coach to get the support you need. Don't struggle alone. The link is in the description box below. Let me just start off by saying Jalen Duren is talented as hell. Anyone who's saying that he's not, all right, you're just being disingenuous. You're not in the NBA if you're not talented. You're not a starting player in the NBA unless you're extremely talented. Jalen Duren has been starting from day one. He was drafted from the University of Memphis as a starter from day one. As one of the youngest players entering the league, Jalen Duren's ceiling and potential was through the roof. Teams, when they saw Troy Weaver somehow be able to maneuver to be able to get both Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren in the same draft, they were in awe of what Weaver was able to do. They said that was one of the best drafts we had seen from any team throughout that draft. And yet, Jalen Duren, the whole recency bias, people getting caught in the vacuum from moment to moment. The popcorn generation, they want everything right now. If you don't look like the next Wemby, then they're looking at you like trash, right? And he's been maligned this season. He struggled. I'm not going to front. He struggled. I've said it repeatedly, though. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there was no perimeter defensive containment throughout the early portion of this season, which caused him to constantly be out of place defensively, which made him look that much worse, picking up silly fouls. And, of course, the inexperience of not knowing, get your hand out the cookie jar. He's got some of those Jaren Jackson Jr. Fouls, if you guys remember early in his career. That man just stayed in foul trouble. And sometimes he still gets in foul trouble. But it's to say that Jalen Duren has struggled. He has struggled. But it doesn't mean that he's not talented. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have incredible potential. So today I want to talk about a few specific areas that I'm really hoping this team can focus on because of the trajectory that I see this team headed in. The first thing, and this is going to be probably the crux of this whole video, they need Jalen Duren to start shooting threes now. Now. He has a good shooting stroke when it comes to the free throw line. He's got great touch. Those things generally translate well as being able to develop into a shooter. When you look at other big men like Brook Lopez, who started off as an interior scorer, not really much of a shooter at all, but had amazing touch. And you see where he's progressed himself throughout his career to where he's now shooting threes at volume at this point in his career. But where this comes from for me was an interview that I seen by Al Jefferson, where he's being interviewed and he starts talking about how he feels like if he had started shooting threes back when he was in the NBA, at least by the time he was in Charlotte, making the All-Star team, that he would have been able to prolong his career. And the reason why I look at Al Jefferson is because Al Jefferson is a good prototype for Jalen Duren. Now, I know he's built more like Andre Drummond, but his touch, I don't think is as good as Al Jefferson. Al Jefferson has some of the greatest touch around the rim. You only see the greats with that type of touch. He's probably one of the most unheralded, under-recognized great bigs coming in straight out of high school. From Mississippi, out of Mississippi, he averaged 42 and 18 as a high school senior. Monster. He got minutes as a rookie with Doc Rivers in Boston. Doc don't play no rookies. You don't ever play no rookies. And Al Jefferson was getting mad burned for him. All this to say is he's a great prototype because he's an undersized center. At only 6'10", Al Jefferson had to use his footwork, his guile, his physicality, his strength, his length, his timing to be able to master controlling the boards, much like a Moses Malone did back in the day. Shout out Moses Malone, one of the great unheralded centers of the NBA ever, all time. He's definitely probably like top 15 all time. People just don't recognize how good he was. All that's to say is that Jalen Duren is 21 years old. And here's the thing. The league is not going to get shorter and smaller. And if you listen to all the discourse on Twitter, YouTube, all these different spots, everyone keeps saying, hey, we need to go ahead and trade Jalen Duren for a stretch five. We need a stretch five. We need a five that can shoot threes and rebound and defend the rim. That's what we need. We need a stretch five who can defend the rim and rebound. That's what we need. So we should trade Jalen Duren for one of those guys. Do y'all know there's probably about 5 of them? 6 tops in the NBA. If you count, just shooting threes at a high volume. You've got Joel Embiid. You got Nikola Jokic. You got Brook Lopez, like I mentioned before. You now have Bam Adebayo. You have Miles Turner. That's 5. Now, if you say you don't have to defend the rim, well, then, okay, throw in Karl Anthony Towns. Who else you got out there? You guys didn't want to re-sign James Wiseman, who looked like he could become a Miles Turner type of a big. Maybe you got Chet Holmgren. Okay. Victor Wembanyama. Okay. We now at, 7, 8? What's that, 7? We included Karl Anthony Towns, so about 8. Okay. What do you think it's going to take to get one of those guys? Which one of those guys do you think is available for the Detroit Pistons to get? Maybe you see somebody in the draft. Maybe you see a 7-footer who defends the rim and shoots threes. You see one? Because I sure as hell don't. And I follow the draft. I follow it. I like Kamen Malawach. I think he has that type of ability to be that rim defending, high interior scoring in terms of efficiency, great length, shooting touch all the way out to the 3-point line. He has it. But Duke ain't developing them. Duke is more focused on Cooper Flagg. And so Malawach is getting less and less time. And I believe Malawach should have went to like a University of Central Florida type of deal and balled out someplace where they know how to develop a big man. And he would have got 20-plus minutes a game developing instead of sitting on the bench, getting DNPs and playing 5 minutes. Where are you going to get the guy that you're saying you should trade Duren for? The likelihood is you're not. You're not. Oh, you could throw in Nikola Vucevic, who you guys like, who's 32? 34 years old? Right? That's who you want to trade the 21-year-old for. Huh. Okay, good luck with that. I don't think that's what Trajan Langdon and this organization is trying to do. So they need to develop it from within. And this is the reality of the Detroit Pistons right now. They are not in win now mode. And some of y'all, I don't care, look, how restless you are. Look, don't not have your rent money because you wanted to go out on a Saturday night. You know what I mean? Don't bet your rent money on trying to front and take shorty out and act like you got it like that. Don't bet your future just to appease how you're feeling in the moment. Have some sort of discipline. Come on, grow up a little bit. It's a process. Hey, losing happens. I know, I'm from the Bay Area. Golden State Warriors went, 16 years without making the playoffs? Damn, that sucked. You know what eventually happened? They had a dynasty. They got Steph, they got Clay. They did it the right way, built it up, set the foundation, off to the races. Had one of the greatest eras in NBA history. Don't bet your future just to get out of the feeling of what you don't like in the moment. It's foolish. So why not develop Jalen Duren now? If you're not in win now mode, if you're not pushing for the playoffs right now, if you're not pushing for the playoffs, probably even next season you're probably thinking play it at best. If you take the next year and a half to 2 years and say, Jalen Duren, we want you to shoot the top of the key three and maybe from the corner. Just top of the key. Maybe do that trail three. Every once in a while, give him a pump fake. Take him to the rack like you're known to do. Start working on it now. Because in the next 2 to 3 years, we need you taking at least 2 to 3 threes a game. At least. In today's NBA. Because the reality is you have a 6'10", undersized center. When he gets around Giannis and Brook Lopez, he looks like young bruh. Hanging out with his older brothers. Who's just not big enough. When you guys face Cleveland, who is in your division, and you see Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, he gets dwarfed. He becomes young bruh again. Just not big enough. So what you need to be able to do is have a counter for that. Now, of course, you can counter in many different ways, right? Pick and roll and, you can put him in the dunker spot and stuff like that and get out in transition and, hunt mismatches and, get switches and pick and rolls and drop it down to him. That's all great and dandy. But in the playoffs, when teams are going to game plan and scheme around that to ensure that you can't get those mismatches, all of a sudden you're going to have to man up and actually guard up. You're going to have to play up. And you're going to have to hold down that interior situation. The first thing they need to do is have Jalen Duren start shooting threes. Now, see, the thing is, most of these guys are talented enough to do it. They have enough skill, right? If you ever watched like Dwight Howard back in the day when he was with the Magic or the Lakers or the Rockets, he would be out there shooting threes all day, cashing out. I mean, it was just splash, nothing but net. The problem is that if the organization is not behind you and you have to deal with the pressure of performance and you don't have the organizational structure that is reinforcing a style of play, you're going to look out of place. And when you're playing at the NBA, you don't have a lot of extra room, especially if you're already being maligned by fans and people and you're worried about the next contract and all these different things and you're trying to win now. It becomes harder and harder and harder to perform and try something new. Try something you haven't done yet at this level. So they need to start having them shoot now. The next part of this is they need to find who is going to be his front court running mate. Is it going to be Asar Thompson? I'm going to be honest, I think Asar Thompson has some Shawn Marion in him. I completely do. If you remember, Shawn the Matrix Marion won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. The one where you all thought it was a cakewalk to go ahead and beat LeBron in the Miami Heat because LeBron just, he got scared and wasn't ready for the moment. Some of y'all that think that completely discount that Dirk Nowitzki, the MVP, one of the greatest offensive front court players of our generation, at least my generation back in the day, he had Shawn Marion. He had him to put on LeBron James. Nowadays, where LeBron knows what he does, now he probably would have just worked a pick and roll and got the switch and got Dirk lined up against him and then would have just ate all day. All that's to say, to have the Matrix, one of the best defenders ever, wing defenders, front court, he could guard all 5 positions. He was only 6'7", but his athleticism, his quickness, his first step, his ability to get up and challenge shots and get the rebound and challenge the next rebound, his ability to play above the rim consistently with touch and feel and quickness and agility set him apart. He was one of the most athletic, versatile Swiss Army knife. He almost defined Swiss Army knife players of his time. Asar Thompson has a lot of that. And if he can play next to a Jalen Duren and you think he can grab you 8 to 12 rebounds in a game and get a couple of blocks and steals and get out in transition, sure, I think that could be a significant advantage on this team, in which case they have to up the tempo and things like that. But if you don't think he is that answer, you need to start courting that guy. Yes, he should be able to shoot. he's also going to have to be someone who can defend the backside in terms of rebounding and also rim protection, who can be versatile and quick enough to be able to guard some of these more agile forward centers so that Duren doesn't have to do it. Because you don't want Duren on the stretch big. We all know that by now. So you got to figure out who is going to be that guy alongside of him. Because like I said, the next great center doesn't look like it's coming in the next couple of drafts. And the guy that you think this team needs is not available. He's not. He's not. Now, you might want to go out and get injury-prone Zach Collins, from San Antonio. He might be a decent pickup if he ever gets healthy, And there's some other guys, around the league, who might be able to shoot a little bit. Not going to be able to rebound. Should probably never be in a starting lineup. But, you might find some guys. The reality is, this is probably your center of the future. This is probably your center for the next 3 years, for the remainder of his rookie deal. He's going to be the best center option that y'all got. So you might as well invest in him. Not for where you are right now, but for where you're trying to get to, which is a championship. Let this boy shoot some threes. Tell him where to shoot it. And tell him to let it fly. I think you'll be surprised at the results. But as always, I want to know what you all think. Do you agree with developing Jalen Duren's outside shot now to prepare for playoff runs in the next 2 to 3 seasons? What do you think about his development so far? Get at me in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.